slowly,
Oh, wow.
like just above the ground.
Really?
Right? Yeah, it happens.
Duffy.
But either
Is that
way,
Duffy
I'm
football?
saying, yeah, it's pretty weird. I forgot what the name of it is.
Okay.
It's not something obviously you see every day, but it does happen. The weird thing of it is, I do remember early morning seeing something. All I know, it was something yellow moving.
Okay.
And I'm like,
What is that?
I'm looking at my window. What is that?
What's going on?
I mean, it was O Dark 30.
It was O Dark 30. Nah.
So, and I
see all sorts of things at O Dark
it
30.
kind of looked as if you had one of these, not the emergency vehicles, but, like the utility vehicles
Yes.
that has the amber light.
Yes.
Kind of like something like that. And the light was very soft.
Right.
But it happened too quick and then it disappeared. I don't know what it was. So,
Okay.
just in case, for the UFO.
Well, if there's any meteorologists, any astronomers, and to your point, any UFO hunters within the sound of our voice that might be able to explain what this yellow
Yeah, it was a
orb
big amber light.
floating at ground level may be, and also, were we able to see the meteor shower in this hemisphere last night? And if so, did anyone see it? We'd love to hear from you.
Well, of course.
745-2626.
Let me just stress, it wasn't last night. This was quite a while ago, but it just came to my mind when you said that.
Right.
But what was different about the light, though, is that, the amber light, you kind of just expect that to just move around, right?
Yes.
But this light was like it was kind of almost, I don't know. I just remember it felt soft. It looked soft.
The Holy Spirit taking a walk through your neighborhood.
Holy
I'll take that as a good sign.
Yeah, well, I mean,
When the Holy Spirit decides to take a stroll, where does he go? Well, he comes to Ellio's neighborhood.
It could have been the Holy Spirit. Who knows? But all I'm saying is I didn't go there. I'm just simply saying the light was very soft. It was very odd.
Well, you gave it the impression that it was a welcoming, soft, almost enjoyable sight, and all of those sensations.
No, I don't mean like that. I mean like you ever saw a light? You see lights, and some lights are sharp, they're hard,
Yes.
and then you have lights that
I get you.
soft.
I get you. I understand.
Come on, Harris.
I understand.
You didn't have to throw all that stuff on me,
I understand. I get you 100%.
You get me?
That's
Okay,
why I
great.
said the Holy Spirit. Makes sense to me.
All right, forget it.
You think you say the Holy Spirit, and the one Bible guy in the room will go, yeah, that's an apt description. But nope, he does not. Again, this is why Ellio Solomon keeps Austin Harris on his toes. Just when you think you got him figured out, he throws a curveball at you.
Yeah.
That's all right. That's what keeps things interesting, huh, friend?
I don't want people thinking, oh, so now we know the Holy Spirit is an amber light.
Well, I don't know if he's an amber. He may have been an amber light that day before he comes in the form of a burning bush, So I'm just saying, he was
I
taking
just don't know what a
stroll in your
utility vehicle would have been up that time of morning, because I thought, okay, maybe it could have been the garbage truck, because, they always come on Wednesdays.
But you said it was just an orb of light, so, I mean.
But I didn't really get to see it, because I'm like in my room, and then you just see the light pass really quickly.
So it might have been a car or a vehicle.
It could have. That's what I'm saying. But, of course, in my neighborhood, you have to go down, and then it's only one way in and one way out.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So I kind of waited, but I didn't see. There was no return.
He still had sleep in his eyes. I get it.
All right, now that I've shared that with you.
Well, thank you for that.
You feel better now, don't you?
Well, again, it took longer than I anticipated, but yeah, I feel so much more rejuvenated and informed as always.
Here's a friend when you just feel like you want to pour your heart out, share something just with him privately.
You said to yourself, sorry I asked.
I mentioned
I was not prepared for that response. I will be honest with you. But if it wasn't the goal of taking up some time, then again, you've done a wonderful job.
Okay.
So good news. Well, first of all, good news. Weather. We talked about, today's warmth, and it was another warm one outside. That may have to do with the residual moisture that is lingering across the Northwest Caribbean. And, of course, with moisture brings humidity, and with humidity makes it feel even hotter. Some isolated showers were expected at times today, though I didn't see any. Maybe you did. If you did, you don't have to call me. I'll just take your word for it. However, a tropical wave, according to the National Weather Service, is supposed to be approaching the Western Caribbean and is expected to drift close by the Cayman Islands tomorrow, which may bring with it some showers. The good news tonight, We got clear skies expected. Temperatures expected to reach a low of 82 degrees. Winds will be out of the east to northeast at 10 to 15 knots. So there will be a slight breeze this evening, and that will produce slight to moderate wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. But some rain is in the forecast for tomorrow. We'll just take them at the value of their word. And, well, of course, you can count on me getting back to you around about this time and reporting whether we got any precipitation or not. We got a number of, I think, good news items on today's agenda. And all three of them have to do with the government. So there's one for the books for all of the otherwise critique that we offer up to the government. We also balance it out by spreading the good news as well. The government is offering cosmetology, hygiene, and safety vocational training. That is going on, I think it is going on this week. Government is inviting hairdressers, barbers, tattoo and body piercing technicians, and other personnel in the cosmetology industry to take part in a training camp going on this summer. The Department of Environmental Health is running a cosmetology, hygiene, and safety training course from the 25th of August at the Georgetown Library. I guess it's a one-day affair. The training is required for all new personnel working in the cosmetology industry and anyone whose certification has expired. And by the way, if you have certification, it usually lasts for about 3 years. So if you're approaching year 3, you might want to get recertified. Business owners are encouraged to act now and register their employees for the workshop, which aims to educate operators on safe hygiene practices within the industry. Failure to become certified may affect the granting and or the renewal of trade and business licenses, according to a government press release. The training will focus on equipment sterilization and disinfection, preventing the transmission of communicable diseases. It will also look at providing participants with updates on the Department of Environmental Health's guidelines for operating cosmetology-related establishments. The cost of the registration is just $15 CI per person and includes the costs of the materials. For more information, you can check out the government website, gov.ky, or the Department of Environmental Health website as well, which again is contained as a link on the primary cig.ky. Next, on Sunday just past, the Department of Agriculture hoped that a walk on the beach would lead to adoption. On Sunday morning, the 10th of August, the Department of Agriculture traded kennels for coastline, leading a beach walk on 7 Mile Beach with a group of playful, adoptable doggies. The event, part of a series of monthly initiatives, invited the public to meet the animals, learn about the adoption program, and bust a stubborn myth that dogs at the ag facility are destined for euthanasia. Euthanasia is, in fact, the last resort, said Dr. Ashley Welcome, veterinary officer and head of the Animal Welfare and Control Services Unit. There are currently over 30 dogs under the Department of Agricultural's care, Welcome said, with about a dozen now ready for adoption. Before going home, each dog is dewormed, vaccinated, and microchipped, all within 60 days, as well as spayed and neutered. She encouraged Cayman to adopt, don't shop, and said that many of the animals at the pound are close to purebred, including Dobermans and Ridgeback crosses, eliminating the need to buy from breeders who oftentimes charge a very hefty price. The Agriculture Department's goal for 2025 is simple: to clear the shelter. It's just one day before the event. In just one day, 3 dogs found homes thanks to the community's support. For persons who might be interested in adopting man's best friend, you can visit the Department of Agriculture website or call 947-3090 or 916-3051. So I think it's a very heartwarming and wonderful thing to do. They say, the dog is a man's best friend. Having been a pet owner myself, and in particular to favor dogs, they're always happy to see you. They're incredibly loyal. And certainly if you're a single parent or living alone, they provide fantastic security. I mean, they hear a leaf drop in the yard and their ears perk up. What's that? I have to investigate. So they're very interesting creatures. And after a while, they become more human than they are four-legged animals. And if anyone's ever owned a dog, when they look at you, you can literally sense that they're thinking.
Yeah, they're thinking.
They're thinking. And if they could speak English, they would say, that shirt doesn't go with those pants. Just saying. You got to ask me. But adopt a dog today. Call the Department of Agriculture or visit their website. And at 49 minutes past the hour, 4 o'clock, we have one more bit of good news. And this one has a bit of a political leaning, but is also in the good news category for good reason. The Cayman Islands government has created a consolidated unit in the Financial Services Ministry to turn the fight against money laundering, terrorist financing, and other financial crimes from policy development and compliance with international regulations into direct action. The Office of Strategic Action on Illicit Finance, OSAIF, is now a centralized authority and will help the local financial industry to meet all of the Financial Action Task Force, or FATF, requirements. In a press release issued on Tuesday, officials said the office consolidates the nation's strategic leadership, interagency coordination, and operational delivery in anti-money laundering, that's AML, counter-terrorist finance, that's CFT, and counter-proliferation financing, or CPF, and moves the jurisdiction towards a demonstrable effectiveness, which is an essential benchmark under the FATF framework. By transitioning from a fragmented process or functions, which was the case before, and usually is the case with most government departments, a number of different departments operating in silos, no communication between the two, but arguably working towards the same end, will now become a unified strategic and operational center. The OSAIF, Office for Strategic Action on Illicit Finance, solidifies the Cayman Islands' ability to deter, detect, and respond to illicit financial activity, both locally and globally. In a comment from the Premier and Minister of Financial Services, the Honorable Andre Ebanks said, "The establishment of the OSAIF reflects our unwavering commitment to effectiveness, not just technical compliance." He added that we must demonstrate that the Cayman Islands can swiftly and cohesively respond to the evolving threats of illicit finance while maintaining the FATF's expectations for tangible outcomes. The new office's remit includes oversight of the National Coordination Team preparing for the next Caribbean Financial Action Task Force evaluation, which is scheduled to take place in December 2027. So we have some time. This will assess the Cayman Islands' effectiveness in achieving the FATF's immediate outcomes on key performance indicators used to measure how well countries prevent and combat illicit finance in practice. So, they're always saying, particularly the detractors overseas, about the country's, financial services center, like we always do at just about every other area. Yeah, the Cayman Islands has a bunch of great laws, but how often do they enforce them? And so, too, has been the argument on financial or in financial services, largely from our critics across the pond. But this new office will do two things. It will centralize the efforts for the first time, which is a fantastic step in the right direction. Certainly will lead to more effectiveness, not to mention improving efficiency. But it will deal with operational matters in the ongoing world and hopefully lead to potential prosecution, detection, deterrent, and otherwise, showing the world that we are doing this not just in word, but in act as well. So I just want to congratulate the Honorable Premier, clearly demonstrating that the role of Minister of Financial Services in particular has been working for him. He seems to have the support of the industry. And of course, is underpinned by the work that goes on at Cayman Finance. So I think that tripartite relationship is working very nicely. And I just want to congratulate the Honorable Premier for getting us, and of course the government, for getting us, in this direction and having a bit more tangible approach to protecting our financial services industry. Any thoughts?
Well, I'd like to read and comment on it more, but to be honest, off the top of my head, it just sounds to me like what we're basically saying is we're giving the UK what they want. And of course, you're not going to get into complaints if you do that. But I think it's always interesting when you know that you're taking advice from your competitors. That should always be a reason for concern. But
you don't think fighting, ensuring anti-money laundering, counterterrorism financing, all of those things are important factors? I mean, I think whether the UK wants it or not, if you're going to be in the financial services industry, these are important issues.
I think that it is important to be able to do all those things, and I think, as far as I know, Cayman's doing those things. And I know that there was, as far as I can recall, there was a meeting that took place just recently where the Premier would have attended. And I think they're putting him in charge of, or Cayman, let's put it that way, Cayman in charge of is it the Joint Council? I can't remember what the name of it is.
I know they have a seat at the table now. I don't remember the name of it, but yes, I remember reading
Joint
that
Ministerial
they have
something or
the other. We'll have to look that one up.
But yeah, I'll reserve my comment, but I really want to know more about it, because from everyone that I chat with in the industry, and again, even persons we had here in the studio earlier on, I didn't get the impression that we were in some sort of a deficit. As far as I'm concerned, Cayman is one of the countries that leads things in relation to compliance and all those things. If there's a lacking, it's probably across the pond, to be quite honest, is what I understand.
Well, that part is, I absolutely agree with you. The Cayman Islands has always been complicit. Cayman has always, provided the framework, but we still continue to receive the criticism. I think in the one's case, they talk about what we talk about all the time. We got a bunch of great laws, but how often do we enforce them? The FATF before this, they, questioned, well, give us some examples of prosecutions in the court for anti-money laundering, for, counter-terrorism financing. And then we started to see more proactive cases going through the courts, cases that particularly were record-making cases that of such huge impact, such global significance, that arguably having those cases heard in the Cayman Islands did two things. It answered the question of enforcement, but also put us on the financial services judiciary map of the world, suggesting we're not just good at banking, but our judicial services in addressing banking or financial related crimes are also up to scratch. And now, of course, they're looking at how are you handling the other spectrum, global terrorism financing, CPF, counterproliferation financing, which is a big word of saying CFT, counter-terrorism financing, obviously funding terrorism organizations. CPF, that is funding the acquisition of weapons of mass destruction. And again, of course, financial services plays a big role. So now they're looking for something more tangible.
Sure, but and
I think that's important.
Let me just say this, for example, again, not claiming to be the funds expert, but it is a case right now that in relation to charges in terms of enforcement, let's say you talk about the issue about enforcement, it is the other countries that directly request from Cayman and say, can you tell me about this guy? Because I'm checking to see whether he's paid his taxes. They don't necessarily do that. There's specific forms. They fill it out. The companies here have a specific time frame and a process by which to deliver it. They deliver it. And now it is for the country, the host country in this case, to say, oh, wow, I'm from India, and this guy has evaded his taxes, and they go ahead and enforce it. This information is very much forward and straight going from just about everyone I've talked to in the industry. And with the greatest respect, what I see right now is that we're sitting and we're in bed with our competitor. And at the end of the day, they're not doing the same things that they're calling on us to do.
All right. Well, that part I won't argue with, and I will also agree with you that the problem is not offshore, but arguably onshore. But that's a conversation for another day. We'll be right back.
Bobo.
BBC News.
BBC News.
World news from the BBC. Violent clashes.
Thick black smoke.
A tremendous legal victory.
Crucial elections.
Destructive win.
A search and recovery
A
operation.
race against time.
An imminent threat.
Flying a drone over a rival team's training session.
Whatever is happening, wherever it's happening, catch up with the latest news bulletins from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
The BBC's From Our Own Correspondent.
In today's Russia, no one is allowed anywhere near the political stage if they pose a serious challenge to Vladimir Putin.
Stories and reflections from our reporters around the world.
There is a major sense of insecurity here.
More people are coming in from Sudan every day.
From Our Own Correspondent from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
How can we understand the world better?
The BBC World Service is a window onto the wider world.
The vantage point from which to survey a new horizon.
News, reports, and analysis from around the world.
Stories we think matter.
Different people from different societies.
We get to the heart of global issues.
News, stories, and global perspectives from the BBC World Service.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM. This is Bobo 103.1, powered by Health Services Authority.
At Health Services Authority, they are committed to caring for you. They are Cayman's largest and longest-standing healthcare provider, offering the most comprehensive range of inpatient, outpatient, and public health services at 9 different locations across all 3 islands.
Across Cayman on 103.1 FM, online, and on your smart speaker. The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo 103.1.
Hello, I'm David Harper with the BBC News. Ukraine's European allies say they have formed a coordinated position with the United States on the aims of Donald Trump's meeting with Russia's president on Friday. After a conference call with Mr. Trump, Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer said there was now a viable chance of a ceasefire in Ukraine. Mr. Trump said President Putin would face very severe consequences unless he halted the war. John Sudworth reports from Washington.
Asked if he thought he could persuade Vladimir Putin to stop targeting Ukrainian civilians, President Trump answered probably not, suggesting the Russian leader had reneged on such promises before. Mr. Trump said instead that it would be a setting of the table for what he hoped would be a soon-to-follow meeting between the Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, Mr. Putin, and possibly himself.
Several countries have rejected the draft text of a plastic pollution treaty hours before the final round of UN negotiations is set to end. A bloc of countries seeking more ambitious action on plastic production said it wasn't legally binding. The talks, which are now in their 6th round, have been going on for 2.5 years without resolution. Panama's representative rebuked the meeting for its results.
Our red lines and the red lines of the majority of countries represented in this room were not only stomped, they were spat on and they were burned. We have only 30 hours to prove that we can lead and we can get to a treaty. But our goal here is to end plastic pollution, not simply get to a political arrangement.
Oil-producing nations, including Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Russia and Iran, said the text crossed their red lines. The Peruvian President Dina Boluarte has signed a law pardoning military and police officers accused of human rights abuses committed between 1980 and 2000. She said the government was paying tribute to the forces who, she said, fought in the defence of democracy. Warren Bull reports.
Dina Boluarte said the Peruvian government was paying tribute to the forces who, she said, fought against terrorism and in defence of democracy. But this is a highly controversial amnesty. It includes members of civilian self-defense units who took part in a campaign against leftist guerrillas. Peru's president for 10 of those years was Alberto Fujimori, who was jailed for his role in kidnappings and murders committed by death squads, but was later pardoned.
Brazil's President Lula da Silva has said high tariffs imposed by the United States offer his country opportunities to seek new markets and commercial partnerships. The comments came during a ceremony to announce measures to support Brazilian companies affected by US import duties of up to 50%. Donald Trump has linked the sanctions to the trial of his ally, the former Brazilian president Jair Bolsonaro, who's accused of plotting a military coup attempt in 2023. President Lula said the US had an old habit of trying to demonize foreign governments it doesn't like. World News from the BBC. A major city in western Greece is under threat from fast-moving wildfires as extreme heat and strong winds continue to drive blazes across much of southern Europe. Searing winds have pushed flames into the outskirts of Patras, the country's third largest city, forcing evacuations from many buildings, including a children's hospital. Dimitris Daskas is from Kaminia, south of Patras.
That house over there, their clothes, their furniture, the walls, everything. It was burnt down. It must now be torn down. It is no longer habitable. Here, we had no electricity, no water. 5 hours before the fire came here, we had no water.
The Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez has expressed his condolences after the death of a firefighting volunteer in the Castile and León region north of Madrid, where thousands of people have been displaced. India's opposition leader Rahul Gandhi has alleged serious discrepancies in the country's electoral system, accusing the authorities of adding fake names to voter rolls in last year's general elections. Mr. Gandhi said he would challenge the system through public mobilisation and possibly the courts. The governing BJP and the Election Commission strongly deny the charges. The UN's human rights chief has condemned Sudan's rapid support forces over Monday's deadly attacks in North Darfur that killed at least 40 people. Volker Turk said the killings at a displacement camp in the besieged city of Al-Fasher came amid a worsening hunger crisis, describing the situation as unimaginable horror for citizens. Paris Saint-Germain have beaten Tottenham Hotspur to become the UEFA Super Cup winners. It's the first time PSG have held the title. They won against Spurs 4-3 on penalties in the Italian city of Udine. PSG also won their first Champions League title this year, managed a magnificent comeback against Spurs with 2 late goals after being 2-0 down. The match was the first competitive game for Tottenham's new manager, Thomas Frank. BBC News.
Opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back in, man, to more Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM and simulcast live over YouTube and Facebook with the key search words Straight Talk Radio Show. You can also find us streaming live on the ACT Cruise Tourism Facebook page as well. We're your hosts, Ellio Solomon, myself, Austin Harris. And at 7 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock, it is our pleasure to welcome in studios as part of our continued series entitled The Candidates Forum, Life After the Campaign Trail. It is our pleasure to welcome in studios former Georgetown South Progressive candidate, Mr. Craig Festa Frederick. Mr. Craig, good evening and welcome to Straight Talk.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity.
An absolute pleasure to have you here in studios. And I was teasing my friend. I had to wear red in honor of your arrival because I took a lucky guess. I said, he's going to show up in red for certain.
Obviously, you were right.
Obviously.
Well, don't think because I'm wearing blue now that I'm opposed in any way.
Well, the progressives kind of are red and blue, aren't they?
Red.
They're more, I know you're red, but there's some blue in there.
Dark blue.
Dark blue?
Yeah.
Oh, that's dark blue.
He's really just lining me out, I think.
Yeah, he's just trying to suggest.
Letting you know.
You're against, you cut against the grain, all right?
Ellio knows I love him.
He wore red yesterday, so he was anticipating your arrival from yesterday.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right.
He's prepping it.
I couldn't wear red again today, that's for sure.
No, he couldn't do it 2 days in a row.
I wore red a lot of time over an 8-week period.
I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did. Well, Mr. Frederick, talk to us about in this instance, this was your first time putting your hat into the political ring, yeah?
Yes. It was my first time that I got permission from the wife to throw my hat in the ring.
By the way, it's your new wife. You recently got married, didn't you?
New. I never had one from before. So.
Well, I mean, new wife relationship. Your first-time wife, but it's still in the honeymoon stage.
It will always be in the honeymoon.
Ah, well said. Well said.
He's turning out to be a very good husband.
Right now
He's turning out to be a very good husband indeed.
And she's actually watching us right now from
Of course she is.
Say you know how to score points. Statements like that.
She's watching and listening. Got her friends watching. Hi, honey.
But with my throwing my hat in the ring with the progressives, first, a lot of people were like, seriously, Craig, are you really going to do this? Get into politics? And I was like, honestly, I've been into politics from time I was 4.
Okay.
And how was I in politics at the age of 4? I remember going district to district in the back of my mother car with my pillow and my blanket for the results of election from North Side, where it always started. That always who came out first, to East End, to Borden Town, seeing Mr. Haig and Mr. Jim Borden coming out of the not the Civic Center, the Town Hall, then heading straight to West Bay, looking out for Mr. Benson and McKeever back in the day, coming out of the Town Hall, and then heading to Georgetown, and they're till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, waiting for Mr. Norman to come out there with his hands up.
Right.
So it's always been the most exciting time for me in a 4-year period. It's not the Olympics. It's not even World Cup, and everyone knows I love my football.
Yeah.
It came out politics.
But I know you stressed that your wife finally allowed you to run. So that means you were thinking about it before. When did you first think about running?
When I was 4. No,
that's a bit early, yeah.
I've always had a passion.
I would say so.
I admire anyone who is willing to put themselves out there, put their families out there, and genuinely, I feel everyone that runs for office wants to do better for their country. I'm sure both you gentlemen have the same sentiment that I have, that it's about being able to be in a position to do something positive for Cayman.
Yes,
absolutely. So, that first and foremost is and has been and will always be what my mentality is when it comes to politics in Cayman.
So outside of 4 years of age or anything under the age of, say, 18, when was the earliest time that you decided that you wanted to run?
In adulthood.
Yeah, adulthood, I would probably say maybe 3 elections ago.
Okay.
That I was biding my time. I can actually tell you, it was 2 elections ago. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be patient because I've been a part of PPM since inception. I believe in the people that...
So that means what? 2017 you were thinking about running?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I said, because I wanted to represent my people of Georgetown South, that I would have patiently waited until Miss Barbara was ready to hand over the mantle and to run with it. I was even encouraged last election to run for Georgetown South as an independent, and I was like, no. I'm full PPM. I'm full in support of being part of a collective, and I was and still am in full support of Miss Barbara. So that's probably, as I said, 3-4 elections I was like, I'm going to be in this one day very soon.
Indeed. And you say you were in full support of Ms. Barbara, and certainly leading up to nomination day, she returned that favor, being in full support of you,
my goodness.
Truly handing over the reins, endorsing your candidacy. How did that make you feel?
Absolutely amazing. And it wasn't even just a handing over. She didn't hand over. Miss Barbara walked the streets of Georgetown South with me. That was my biggest support when it came to, being... Everyone knows Festa from KMAS, from Swanky International, from the radio. But nobody really knew of Craig Frederick, the politician, until Miss Barbara was the one that introduced me to so many in Georgetown South. And, you know, and this says so much about what she has been able to accomplish in her very short two-term stint, that the respect that she has on the streets, especially within Georgetown South, because of her genuine love for country and wanting better for her Caymanian people. I remember walking into houses and like, wait, say your name is? Okay, all right, that's all I need though.
Right.
If Miss Barbara say you good, we good.
That's excellent.
So, you know, I was so blessed to be able to put in that position, to learn, to be introduced to walk hand in hand with Miss Barbara instead of just being pushed in the deep end of the pool.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the mantle. No,
right.
it was an amazing experience for me, to be honest.
You talk about having politics in the blood, and you know this is that last time referring to your age 4 experience, but arguably you've been immersed in politics from a very young age, and that obviously didn't diminish into adulthood. You had a more than capable guide on your first foray into the political landscape. What was the experience, the hands-on? Now the spotlight is on Craig Festa Frederick. He's the candidate. What was that experience like for you?
It's so funny you asked that question. Which, of course, I knew the question was coming, but I actually had a conversation this weekend with someone that also ran, and I was like, you know, I got an experience from nomination day until election day that I would never have ever been able to get that kind of experience. And it was an amazing experience being able to sit down in so many Caymanian homes and hear their Cayman story. And honestly, there's no other situation that puts you in that position to be able to hear all of those Cayman stories other than this process of wanting to run and represent your people. And it was a fantastic experience. My shoes, my feet might differ, but it was an amazing experience. And also need to give a shout out again to the wife for being that support for me, you know, when I got home and everything else. So it was a fantastic experience.
I want to ask a qualifying part to what Austin raised.
Yes.
So looking at it, like you said, you've had the experience, you know, vicariously, if nothing else, from the time you were 4 years of age. You must have went into it with certain thoughts, certain expectations, and maybe when you actually jumped in the pool, as you've described it, that maybe you found some things were actually different than you thought.
Yes. The big one, and I hope no one beats me up for this one. The big one, honestly, I felt the biggest misconception I had going into this was that every door I knocked on was going to ask me for $200, $300, $400, $500.
Mm-hmm.
And it was far from that. I mean, it was many places I stayed a little bit longer than I should have in order to hit another house. But in many cases, it was just, as they say, it was just those kitchen table issues and people wanting leaders to be leaders to give them and their children and their grandchildren a better way of life here in Cayman. It was conversations about how can the government collectively help our Caymanian families have a better life, you know, and of course there were a couple that it came with hands out, but overall, I must say it was some amazing conversations I had about how people felt about their life in Cayman, and very opinionated as well about what needs to be done in order to enhance our life in Cayman.
So you were under the expectation, based on things you would have heard, that people might be looking money or whatever. What were some of the reasons why you decided that it was important for you to run with a group as opposed to an individual?
Well, I've always said, when asked that question, is that I'm a footballer, not a tennis player. I've always been a team player. I think the collective is so much more effective than the singular. As the saying goes, when we put many heads together, gives you better ideas than just one. And honestly, as I said, I couldn't see myself doing this with anyone other than the PPM because of the admiration I've had from the inception of, Mr. Kurt, Miss Edna, Miss Lucille, Arden, Mr. Anthony, from back then. So there was no question in my mind about whether I was going to go independent or a party. And as I said, independent's a party of one. I don't like playing by myself. So that is the reason why I chose to be with a collective, be with a structured party, and be with a team that gave me support as well too.
But you gave a little bit of a jovial response, and I'm tempted to give a jovial response in return.
Please,
I will say that a single tennis player on the football field would look just as odd as 11 people on a tennis court. But either way, I understand the point that you're making. I think that the organized politics. So it sounds to me like you would have always have had an admiration for some of these people that were particularly in the PPM or the progressives.
100%.
And you want to be a part of that.
100%.
And so how about when, Mr. Fester, based on your experience, how was it? What were some of the things that maybe gave you a little bit of anxiety? Was it the debates? Was it the getting up and doing the public speaking?
Well, neither one of those, because I've been doing it so long. Being a part of radio since 2005. I actually helped open these radio stations here.
Oh, okay.
GMS Broadcasting, way back when it was at Merco Center. But the public speaking, never had any issues about it. Right. I like to talk, if you didn't catch that.
Okay.
I would say in the beginning, the most nervous thing is words going into people's houses and having that one-on-one conversation and not 100% sure that I will have the answer to their questions, even though I learned very quickly, you don't need to have the answer for every question that someone asks. You know?
A lot of times they just want someone to listen.
Exactly.
Genuinely listen.
100%. And so always told me, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, which means you're supposed to listen twice as much as you talk.
Yeah. What about your learning experience as it relates to some of the candidates that you would have run with or against?
The learning curve was quick. I wouldn't say quick, because I came into this, the leader of opposition I met October last year, September, October, and officially came on board around end of October. And at first it was just a small amount of us. Then all of a sudden, the veterans came in. It was almost like NFL where, preseason, you got the rookies that came in first, and then the professionals, the big boys came in. And it was a fantastic experience with the knowledge that was passed on by Miss Julie, by especially Dwayne and Kenneth. Right. The 3 of them were beacons of experience. Mr. Roy was that. Have you ever seen anybody happier with their life than Roy McTaggart? I honestly could know. I tell them this all the time. I can't ever in my life, as long as I've known him, ever seen him upset. But no, and again, this comes with being a part of a party, whereas I had people to lean on, to ask questions about the campaign, about how to approach this, about that. Whereas if I was independent, there's very little support to be able to guide me, especially being the first time down that road.
Yeah. What about as you reached and got to the point? How did it come to you, and how did you take it in terms of the disappointment, knowing that you had all these plans and you must have been raring to go? You know, here's what I want to do for the country, and that disappointment that you weren't successful.
100%, I was disappointed. But I'm a planner. I try to have, plan A, B, C.
And D if necessary.
And D if necessary. I think I'm on plan D right now, but no, I knew there was a chance. I mean, there was a 1 out of 3 chance of me not being successful. Actually, 2 out of 3 chances of me not being successful. But all I could do was to give my all, which I definitely did, and to put forward to my people of Georgetown South that I felt that I was the best alternative for my Georgetown South to help lead Cayman forward. So I was disappointed.
And what about the sort of looking back hindsight in terms of that incomplete success? Let's put it that way. Is looking back at it, is there something you would do and change, something different? Something you think you could have done to make it different, or that's just the way the ball bounces?
Can I take the fifth on that one?
We'll let you take the fifth.
But no. Again, here's the best way to answer that question, and to answer the whole disappointment and everything. I remember the morning of elections, mid-morning. We got catered by the Honorable D. Kirk Tibbetts himself.
Wow.
Style beef and everything.
Wow.
And
that's special.
Let me tell you. And Kurt took me, I was helping taking the food out of the car. And he said to me, he said, Craig, listen, there's a chance you might not win. But take this into consideration. I didn't win my first election either.
That's true.
But I persevered. I looked at what I could have done better, and I was ready for the next time that came around. And I then decided when I was going to not be a representative for the Cayman Islands. So that there eased a lot of any heartbreak that I would have had. And, I'm fairly certain I might more than likely be back for 2029 if Nadia allows me. But with people like that, Kenneth, same situation. He lost his first time around. And it's about being able to persevere and keep your eyes on the prize, and most importantly, keep your good intentions here for the people of Cayman. Keep that eye on the prize of wanting to create a better Cayman for my Cayman people.
Indeed. Well, certainly if I can encourage you and your wife, if you are thinking about, being visible in 2029, that you also not commit the cardinal sin that voters despise, and that is going quiet for 4 years and then reemerging in 2029. Stay connected with some of those households that you expressed having had the opportunity to visit, which, of course, you expressed earlier on is an opportunity that you would not have been afforded otherwise. And we thank you for providing that, colorful, if not, very favorable response to the experience. We weren't expecting, the response to be that enjoyable, but I believe it was very genuine. Before we go off to a quick commercial break, just two very big breaking news announcements to make, if I can interrupt our discussion. We just got word that the Honorable Deputy Governor Frans Manderson has announced his retirement. He will be leaving the post in July 2026. So obviously the search for his successor has now begun, having served 44 years in the civil service and 14 years as the country's deputy governor. And lastly, the Royal Camanachd Police Service has announced the charges have been filed against both Larry McGeen and the 17-year-old young man involved in the road rage incident.
More Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio coming up. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Bobo 103.1.
The Office Hero. To claim this title, you have to make an exceedingly wise decision. Do something that benefits staff, impresses clients, all while keeping expenses low. Are you ready to be the Office Hero? Here's what to do. Call Hughes Cleaning Service. Hughes Cleaning Service will make your office shine and you a hero. Dusting, vacuuming, windows, sanitizing, and more. Hughes expert cleaners will make your office a healthy, immaculate, impressive workspace. Call 949-0734. Visit hughes-janitorial.com. Hughes, you get more than clean.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
At Price Right, spending less on everyday products is easy.
Spend less on office supplies, tools, and automotive products.
Spend less on groceries, fresh produce, and meat.
Spend less on electronics, TVs, and speakers.
Spend less on home furnishings, beauty products, and apparel.
At Price Right, we believe you can live better for less.
To start saving, visit us at the Airport Center in Georgetown or at Republix Plaza in West Bay.
For more info, visit priceright.ky. Live better for less at Price Right.
We need to talk. Okay. We've noticed you've been going to KFC a lot more than usual lately. And
that's fine. We know you love it.
We just don't understand how you could afford it.
The KFC What a Deal menu starting at just $3. Gives you lots of great choices and value. Available at KFC Baytown Plaza, Shetton Road, and in the Strand. The KFC What a Deal value meals. The deal everyone should know about. Come to KFC and enjoy a variety of tasty choices at surprising prices. KFC, so good.
Have your engine driving like never before with Pure 93, the highest pure octane fuel in Cayman and available exclusively at Rubis service stations. Pure 93 protects against engine knock, restores lost power and acceleration, cleans fuel injectors, intake valves, removes engine deposits, improves your fuel economy, and it meets international specification requirements for your car. Fill up with Pure 93 now and keep your engine running like new. Fuel the difference with Pure 93, available exclusively at Rubis.
Drinking water is vital to our health. At Cayman Water, we use reverse osmosis desalination to ensure safe drinking water. A semi-permeable membrane allows fresh water to pass through, blocking out contaminants. Then, we finish with a post-treatment process and conduct frequent extensive testing to ensure that you get healthy drinking water with an average pH of 7. Not only is water out of your tap safe to drink, it's approximately 400 times less expensive than bottled water. Help to reduce plastics and save our planet. Cayman Water cares. Learn more at CaymanWater.com.
Across Cayman on FM, online, and on your smart speaker. This is Bobo 103.1, powered by Health Services Authority, committed to caring for you. The views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, Cayman, to more Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM and simulcasting live over YouTube and Facebook under the key search words Straight Talk Radio Show. with your host, Ellio Solomon, myself, Austin Harris, as we continue with our guest as part of our series on the Candidates Forum, Life After the Campaign Trail, with Georgetown South Progressive candidate, Mr. Craig Frederick. And just very quickly, as we interrupted the regular discussion with breaking news, again, the announcement has been made that the Honorable Deputy Governor Franz Manderson will be stepping down from his post on the 7th of July, 2026. So that's just under a year from now, giving Her Excellency the Governor the opportunity to spend the give or take 11 months or so recruiting his successor. And there are a few choices, so we undoubtedly look forward to following that developing story and discussing it in due time. And one would say, what could trump that news? Well, the Royal Cameron Police Service has announced that charges have been filed against both Larry McGeen, the 72-year-old, and a 17-year-old minor that were involved in a violent road rage incident that occurred on the Rex Crichton Boulevard back in February 19th of this year. That one is certain to, I imagine, generate a lot more discussion because from our standpoint, and arguably everybody else's who actually watched the video, the 72-year-old was absolutely the aggressor. And from where we stand, the 17-year-old was defending himself. But now the charges have been brought, and undoubtedly it will go before the courts. We have to be careful, if not cautious, in how we engage in discussion because it does become sub judice at this point in time, and we don't want to interfere with the course of justice. So I say that just to sort of put the listening audience on notice. Again, charges do not necessarily relate to, we're going to court, but we shall see, when that happens, the closer we get to it, that we do need to be cautious. But I don't remember how it was. We were cut off with those hard stops, which is interesting because to my colleague's chagrin, even here on this program, the UK dictate the flow of the program. Back in the day, we would hit a button, control when our breaks come in and come out. Now there's a hard stop, whether we're ready or not. Boom. The programming is going to stop us anyway. But yeah, that comes as a result of our partnership with the BBC on this station. But we apologize for that to the listening audience. But the phone lines are open, 745-2626. If you have a kind word that you'd like to share with our guest, Craig Frederick, I'm sure he would love to hear from you. If you have a question for him or maybe even a comment, maybe you were one of those households that he had the honor and the pleasure to visit during the campaign trail. But from what it sounds like in the first half hour anyway, it was a very fulfilling experience for you, an enjoyable one, and even not being completely mysterious about your plans for 2029. I suspect very likely that you will be a candidate in that race as well, but that's in the future, and we leave it there because, as they say, there's a big distance between the cup and the lip. Indeed. So we leave that there.
We speak of cup, and he picks up his cup.
Indeed, he picks up his cup.
A mind trigger.
I did want to ask, though, were there any surprises, anything that caught you off guard in the campaign trail, whether caught you off guard good or bad, but also whilst you talk in flowing language about enjoying the experience, and we can fully relate to where you're coming from, but were there moments when you may have thought, what am I getting into?
I would have to say yes.
Okay.
Positively and negatively. Well, I guess I can say this because it was all over the place. I was caught off guard with the incident that happened the Friday before election with, the issue that came out about me. I was very much caught off guard with that, but kept on going. And, again,
were you more concerned about the personal attack that irritated you more, or What was it about the issue that just got under your skin?
Well, I didn't see it coming.
Okay.
To be honest with you. And I know with politics, I've been around there long enough that I know the personal attacks would have come. And unfortunately, they did. And I feel personally, and this is my opinion.
Sure.
I feel it did somewhat affect that final outcome. But as they say, it is what it is. And, you know, we took our licks and we're looking to rebound, dust ourselves up, and get back up and continue to fight.
Well, that's why they do say politics is a dirty game.
Yeah.
And it is not for the meek.
Definitely not for the meek. But to say otherwise, you know, of any other major issues I had, I really didn't. You know, it was an experience, a learning experience on what it takes to have that. And I feel I do have that thick skin, but what it takes to really have that thick skin and, you know, to block the negativity, any negativity that comes your way. But other than that, I don't think we had much issues. I mean, I must say, well, publicly, congratulations to the deputy premier who won the seat for Georgetown South, the Honorable Gary Ruddy. Also, you know, Alric as well. Alric and I grew up 2 streets apart.
Right.
So, you know, there wasn't that political animosity that you normally have between candidates.
Yes.
Within our constituency. So, you know, I felt with the conversations I've had with both of them that it was about who could prove they were the best person for the position of Member of Parliament for Georgetown South.
Have you had a chance to speak to either of them since?
I briefly talked to the Honorable Deputy Premier, but I haven't had the opportunity to buck up in the Alric since the elections.
Fair enough. So I guess the follow-on question now at 40 minutes past the hour, 5 o'clock, is what comes next? I mean,
well, before we get there, there is something I want to touch on about the elections as well.
Okay.
That happened during the elections. And I have to take my hat off to Mr. Solomon and everyone at ACT for trying to educate the Cayman population on, and I'm saying this because I've been a part of tourism for a very, very long time and I understand the overall picture. And trying to educate the Cayman population on the importance that cruise tourism doesn't make just that 1,500, 1,800 direct people in the industry, but on the Cayman Islands as a whole. You know, to be able to go out there fighting night after night, day after day, trying to educate, I take my hat off to you guys, and I'm not afraid to say it. I voted yes, because I understand the bigger picture. I also did my research on, you know, cruise berthing, and it is. I hope it doesn't affect us as bad as we think it can. That we will be able to get a curveball somewhere, and but again, with that, you know, I truly take my hat off to you all for the fight that you all did trying to educate the Cayman people on the positive aspects of having a cruise berthing facility.
Well, thank you very much, Greg. I definitely wasn't expecting that, but it's welcome to hear that, especially coming from you. Very much appreciated, and we thank you for, and others as well, but you're the one in the seat now. Thank you for taking the time out to actually come and listen. As I chatted with my colleague yesterday, I mean, that's really all we could really ask for, was to get persons out there that were willing to engage in dialogue and genuinely try to understand the issue. The country has voted, and I think the old saying is, if you can't see the light, you'll have to feel the heat. So something will get us in the kitchen. But speaking of that, very quickly, I did see someone post something on Facebook, which I think is interesting, but I won't take that out of your time today. I'll probably discuss that tomorrow. But just on to very quickly before we get on to the question which my colleague is asking, which I think is a good one. But I think the party was successful in getting, 7 candidates in?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that, and how do you feel, generally speaking, about the party at this point?
How do I feel about...
so one, you were able to get 7 candidates in. What is your thoughts on that? Let's take it one at a time. What is your thoughts on that? The PPM was still successful.
Disappointment.
Okay.
Actually, not. I mean, when you're saying 7 out of 13,
7 out of 13.
That's barely 50%.
Mm-hmm.
Or a little
bit over. Yeah.
In school, that's a failing grade.
Mm-hmm.
We were expecting more positive results than what was given. So I, of course, like the rest of us in the party, we were disappointed with not being able to garner more. And by far, it was the biggest slate any political party has ever put forward for elections in Cayman history. And I will, I'll fight anybody for this. I feel there were quality candidates that was put forward. The poster child of this whole forum that you guys are doing right now, Crystal Gomez, absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. I honestly thought she had an exceptional chance to be able to represent the people of Prospect. But as I said, we did get 7. We were hoping for more, but I hope we learned our lessons and are able to move forward to be able to come back even stronger than what we were this year, and give the people of Cayman a reason to say, yes, we are ready for PPM to lead the country again.
And any changes you see happening right now in the party, or you just strategize? What's happening now?
It's too early for me to be able to answer that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm certain that there will be a lot of new faces come next election, and that there again is another beautiful thing about PPM.
Mm-hmm.
It's the succession planning that PPM has always had from the beginning. I mean, we're 21, 22 years, and we have had 4 leaders of the party, and it's because of the succession plan that the PPM has always had. And the same thing with the candidates that PPM run. It's always been a handover or, a changing of the guard with PPM. Perfect example is me with Miss Barbara. It wasn't just Miss Barbara was just left and didn't just throw her hands up.
Mm-hmm.
It was being able to pass that on. So, that's another thing that I admire about the People's Progressive Movement Party.
So, considering now that you've lost, I mean, you've always been involved with the KMAS and stuff. Yes. Tell us, I mean, what is there? Because a lot of candidates, even, for example, a person come to my mind is, again, like Crystal, you would have Donna Mae Bush, for example. All these people would have taken big risks, leaving their jobs, and now they're unemployed.
Yes.
Is that your situation as well?
Pretty much. And that I'm glad you brought that up, because I did actually want to touch on that.
Mm-hmm.
Where, to be honest with you, it kind of annoys me where you say you want to be a leader for your country. You want to step up to the plate. You want to be a part of change or of taking Cayman forward.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not successful,
yeah,
it's like you got leprosy.
Mm.
And I with that response, I know both you guys are that came from experience.
Yeah.
And it is such a sad situation for that to be where, you know, you're with having a situation like that. What happens? People that are quality, people that are in positions to take the country forward, always have that in the back of their head. Whereas, I got a good job here. I know I can be an impact to Cayman if I threw my hat and take the chance. But one, I got to resign from a job, not take a sabbatical or whatever. I got to resign my job. I got to leave my job. And then if I don't get in, I'm being ostracized by not just the government, but many in the private sector, because their mentality is, well, your opponents are now the government, and I really don't want to rock the cradle by bringing you back in because you ran against them. And it is a frustrating situation where, you know, if you're quality, you're quality. And if you make that decision, it shouldn't take you a year, 2 years, even 6 months to find something in order for you to provide for your family. And I do know there are many of us in that boat right now within my own party.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a situation that the mentality needs to change.
Yeah, definitely.
And if we want quality, that mentality needs to change in order for people not to be afraid of stepping up to the plate of one of the most glorious things you could be, you could do, which is a leader in your country.
But have you heard of the tacit agreement that the government has that's basically saying if you run against one of their members in NCFC, then obviously they won't be allowing you to serve on boards, etc. Have you heard that?
Oh, yes, I did hear that a few weeks ago. And it's like the elections was the elections. Yes, I lost, but if I am the most qualified for, say, the opportunity with my background to
Deputy Governor.
Take charge.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Take charge of Parrot Suite.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
correct.
With it being
that would be very appropriate, I would think. Yeah,
and not being blackballed because I ran against someone that was successful or a government that was successful that wasn't my party. Once elections are over, it should be a situation, well, who does this person qualify? Is this person the best for this position without having to throw in to that formula? Well, this person is a member of PPM. No, I'm a Caymanian. I'm a Caymanian first and foremost. I want to see my Cayman stuff succeed. I want to see my Cayman government succeed.
So clearly you can see how destructive this is for the country. It might be beneficial for NCFC or any particular person or group who is in power, but it's destructive for the country as long as this victimization continues. If and when the day happens that you do get elected, would we be able to say that Mr. Craig Frederick is going to do something about that?
Without a doubt.
Won't happen on the earth.
Without a doubt. And as I said, during elections, we're on different sides.
Right.
But outside elections, guess what? We're all Caymanians.
Right.
We all should be of the mentality of what needs to be done to take Cayman forward.
Excellently said, Mr. Frederick.
Yes.
Very well said. Well, now perhaps is the time at 52 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock.
Already?
I tell you, time flies. It flies when we're having a good time. May I tell the public our off-air conversation? If you remembered, Craig, when we invited Craig, he said in the lead up to the program. Poor Craig is like, what?
He goes, believe it or not, I'm kind of nervous about going back on the radio. And again, here's a person that started in radio, as you might be able to tell. He's got the radio voice. He's got a number of years behind the microphone. It comes second nature to him. Add that to the fact that he was just involved in a national election. So public speaking isn't, a fear for him, certainly not anymore. But having been absent for even a period of time does give, one just a little bit of jitters. But I will say to you, as I said to you then, once you're in the saddle again, once that red light goes live, you will be in the zone and you won't even feel the difference. And was I right or was I right?
Without a doubt.
All right,
Without
good.
a doubt.
And you're doing fine.
I have two great hosts guide me along, so
You're very generous.
It's like us just sitting on by mango tree having a conversation.
It is just us chatting. We say that all the time. In our padded room.
Just look at him square in the face and say, "You're right, Austin.
You're right, Austin."
He knows me. Thank you. I feel great already. And we have about 6 minutes, and there is going to be a hard stop, and I'll warn you before it happens. But what happens next? You just talked about Badabanu, Hang on, I'm getting there. I'm going to get there. The word on the road is that not only will KMAS, continue to grow. It's encouraging. Nice to see that parade festival has turned an important corner, I think, in its history. But there is also word on the road that the same director behind KMAS might be best suited to take over at least the carnival portion of Badabanu. I don't know if you've heard that. But my question to you is, what comes next for Craig Frederick?
What comes next for Craig Frederick? Well, right now, immediately, trying to find revenue source. I'm working on plans, but they're mainly for 2026. I'm going to give a shameless plug right now to Zest Carnival. My beautiful wife is bringing out a carnival band for KMAS Carnival 2026. So I've been working on that with sponsors, with preparations, because a lot of people don't realize doing carnival is a full-time, almost a year-round thing.
Sure.
It's not just going Walmart, pick up a couple of costumes off the shelf and call it that.
Right.
So that there are other projects that I am working towards, especially for 2026. And just trying to keep my head above water. My daughter goes into year 5 this year, a couple weeks. Birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday again to Nala out there in Toronto.
Nice.
And, it is just trying to survive. It is trying to survive in this. It hit me real with the stories I've heard. You've told me, but after, not being elected, boy, it's rough. I've heard it from you about that. And I didn't believe it until May 1st.
Sure.
And it is an unfortunate, rough situation for anyone that steps up to the plate and say, yeah, I am putting myself forward for my country. That should not be a negative thing if you're not successful, And, it's right now just we have our first post-elections meeting with BPM in a few weeks, and to see where we move forward towards 2029. But I will tell you this, if I do decide, once I have a conversation with the family for 2029, no, you will not have to wait until 2028 or leading up to 29 to see me. I am very accessible, and I plan to start reaching back out. But right now, honestly, I'm just trying to put my pieces back together in order to survive.
Sure. Keep the lights on, keep food on your table.
100%.
Keep paying for your children's education. All those are very real concerns, and we get it completely. It is 58 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock, and we do need to pause, check in with the top of the hour news brought to you by our news partners, the BBC. But the phone lines are open at 745-2626. If you want to be a part of the conversation, make a comment, ask a question, share a thank you with our guest in studios. I'm sure he won't say, don't do it. I'm sure he would appreciate it. So please take full advantage. When we come back and, we talk about your carnival spirit, we thank you for, reminding people that it can be a year-round job. Moving away from politics and focusing in on that carnival, we just lost the Carnival Queen, the late Reba Dilbert. I know you were very close with her, being colleagues and the like. When we come back, we're going to obviously get some of your thoughts on her contribution at the carnival level when Straight Talk returns next.
Bobo.
The BBC is the world's most trusted news source.
And Bobo 103.1 is where you'll find the BBC World Service.
BBC News, the world news from the BBC.
And the home of Cayman's most listened to talk shows.
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cold hard truth.
And welcome to Straight Talk. I'm your host, Austin Harris.
And I'm Ellio Solomon.
Across Cayman,
on FM, online, and on your smart speaker. This is Bobo 103.1.
Welcome to our newsroom here in central London. We place ourselves here at a little desk right in the thick of things.
OS from the BBC.
We can catch the very latest news from our colleagues, not just in this enormous room, but also from our colleagues around the world.
I'm in the room where they're treating children.
This is a combat zone.
The situation after the typhoon is very complicated.
It was a very tense situation.
OS from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
BBC News. BBC News. World news from the BBC. Violent clashes. Thick black smoke.
A tremendous legal victory.
Crucial elections.
Destructive winds.
A search and recovery operation.
A race against time.
An imminent threat. Flying a drone over a rival team's training session.
Whatever is happening, wherever it's happening, catch up with the latest news bulletins from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM. This is Bobo 103.1, powered by Health Services Authority.
At Health Services Authority, they are committed to caring for you. They are Cayman's largest and longest standing healthcare provider, offering the most comprehensive range of inpatient, outpatient, and public health services at 9 different locations across all 3 islands.
Across Cayman on 103.1 FM, online, and on your smart speaker. The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo 103.1.
Hello, I'm David Harper with the BBC News. More than 100 aid agencies have accused Israel of continuing to block their humanitarian supplies from Gaza. Oxfam says over $2 million worth of supplies have been rejected. CARE says more than $1 million of aid for mothers and babies has been waiting to enter for 5 months. Imogen Folks reports.
Many aid agencies say they have not had a single truck of supplies allowed into Gaza since March, when Israel first imposed its blockade. The more recent promise to let supplies in and create humanitarian corridors has not, the aid agencies say, improved things. Aid agencies fear the restrictions are part of a broader strategy to ban international organisations altogether. Israel has introduced a new vetting process which requires aid agencies to provide detailed and often sensitive information about all their staff. Agencies who do not comply are now being turned away.
Ukraine's European allies say they have formed a coordinated position with the United States on the aims of Donald Trump's meeting with Russia's president on Friday. After a conference call with Mr. Trump, Britain's Prime Minister said there was now a viable chance of a ceasefire in Ukraine. Here's Harry Farley.
The aim of that diplomatic effort is to ensure that Ukraine's demands, Europe's demands, are ringing in the ears of Donald Trump as he heads into that meeting with Russia's President Putin on Friday. There had been fears among many European leaders that the US president could strike a deal with Russia or reiterate Russia's demands, at least coming out of that meeting, without their involvement, without their say-so. Some of those fears appear to have been eased a little bit. Hearing from the different European leaders coming out of the talks, they sound a little bit more confident that the US president agrees with their position, understands their arguments.
Several countries have rejected the draft text of a plastic pollution treaty hours before the final round of UN negotiations is set to end. A bloc of countries seeking more ambitious action on plastic production said it wasn't legally binding. The talks, which are now in their 6th round, have been going on for 2.5 years without resolution. Esme Stallard explains the delay.
Initially, when the mandate was given by the UN to say we're going to develop a treaty to tackle plastic pollution, a deadline was given for the end of last year. That's obviously now passed, which is why we're sixth round of negotiations, but it's actually called 5.2 because I think countries were hoping this would be the kind of last extra time of negotiations. There isn't another round that is set up. There is discussion whether those ambitious group of countries, of which there are nearly 100 of them, could develop their own treaty and just hope that they have enough kind of power within trade to actually kind of implement these rules and cause a shift.
Esme Stallard reporting. This is the latest world news from the BBC. The Peruvian president, Dina Boluarte, has signed a law pardoning military and police officers accused of human rights abuses committed between 1980 and 2000. The amnesty also covers members of civilian self-defense units who took part in the campaign against leftist guerrillas. Our America's regional editor, Leonardo Rocha, has more detail.
She said that she was restoring dignity to people who fought for democracy and fought for the country. And we have to bear in mind here that she didn't make the decision herself. This was a measure that was approved by Congress only a month ago, and she just signed it into law. Of course, she supports that. She has spoken about that very, very often. And what she said is that these people were fighting communism, fighting violent groups, and they've been attacked by human rights group, by the left, and that they deserved to be respected for what they did, in her views, for the country.
India's opposition leader Rahul Gandhi has alleged serious discrepancies in the country's electoral system, accusing the authorities of adding fake names to voter rolls in last year's general elections. He said he would challenge the system through public mobilisation and possibly the courts. The governing BJP and the Election Commission strongly deny the charges. Spain has asked the European Union for urgent help to tackle dozens of wildfires, requesting 2 water-bombing planes. Almost 10,000 people have been forced from their homes and 4 people have been seriously injured by the blazes. Flames are threatening a UNESCO-listed Roman mining site in Castile and Leon. In Greece, wildfires have reached the outskirts of Patras, the third largest city, forcing evacuations, including from a children's hospital. Paris Saint-Germain have beaten Tottenham Hotspur to become the UEFA Super Cup winners. It's the first time PSG have held the title. They won against Spurs 4-3 on penalties in the Italian city of Udine. PSG managed a magnificent comeback against Spurs with 2 late goals after being 2-0 down. BBC News.
Opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, K-Man, to more Straight Talk here, brought to you exclusively by Bobo 103.1 on your radio dial and simulcasting live over YouTube and Facebook with the key search word Straight Talk Radio Show. We're your hosts, Ellio Solomon, myself, Austin Harris, and our very special and distinguished guest, continuing our series discussion, the Candidates Forum, Life After the Campaign Trail. Greg Frederick remains with us in studios at 7 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock as we move into our final segment of the evening. The phone lines are open at 745-2626 for those of you who might wish to call in and share a kind word or maybe even ask a question of Mr. Frederick. Now is your opportunity to do so. If talking isn't your thing, you can also reach out to us on our WhatsApp line, 928-2562. You can share a traditional WhatsApp text message, or you can get creative and send us a WhatsApp audio note. We would still love to hear from you. Whilst we're waiting for any callers or contributors, or perhaps folks just simply enjoying the conversation, I know I am. I am thoroughly enjoying tonight's discussion with our guest. Maybe it's his radio background, but I think it's your honesty and your, ability to communicate your thoughts and your feelings so eloquently. I just appreciate that. So thank you for being our guest. Prior to the break, we talked about moving away, even if it is just for a moment.
Yes.
To pay respect to somebody that I know you had a lot of time for, a colleague in the carnival world. You talked to us prior to the break that, hosting a carnival is more than just a couple hours, a couple of days, a week before work, but very much becomes, a year-round exercise of love.
Yes.
And certainly somebody who was also in your fraternity, if you will call it as such, just passed away, and that is, of course, the late Reba Dilbert. Some personal thoughts to offer up on your memory of her, and certainly to her family who might be listening.
Well, first of all, I feel Miss Reba should have one of them statues downtown.
Amen.
She has been so instrumental in the fight, and I say the fight, and I'll explain why I say the fight, for Carnival in the Cayman Islands. I've been in this game myself almost 25 years, and Miss Reba is way longer than that. If I'm not mistaken, she was actually there from the beginning back in '83. And, for someone to be a true ambassador, not just for Carnival, but for Cayman, that has elevated in the early days what our Carnival product was, that has traveled overseas representing Cayman, enhancing other carnivals like La Ceiba. She truly is one of the Carnival greats, and if we had a Hall of Fame for Carnival, she definitely would have my vote for the first person to get into that. It's to get back into what I was saying with the fight, with Carnival. I fell in love with Carnival head over heels when I was in school in Tampa. We used to go to Miami Carnival every year. But just get in our cars and go on Carnival for Carnival weekend. And when I came back home, Carnival was still a full par event that, we got to do that here in Cayman. But we going to Jamaica, we going to Trinidad, we going to Miami, we going to Toronto. And when I got into it, and through guidance from Miss Reba, I wanted to be able to elevate that experience here in Cayman, to be able to give people that quality Carnival experience here in Cayman that you get at any other carnival, and to be able to really make it Cayman unique, with the experience that you get here doing Carnival in Cayman. And, even now, I still get people argue with me that, Carnival's a Trinidad thing, and now our culture. And I was like, you realize this been around like almost 2 generations, right? Culture didn't stop in 1950. Culture is an evolving thing. And if this has lived in our country through generations, it is part of our culture now. And it's a part of our culture that I am so proud in being a part of enhancing that part of the culture. And, it's a Caribbean expression. And, it was something that we finally took as that we were part of the Caribbean, because growing up, many people, I ain't from the West, and these are from Cayman.
Right.
And, it's to see people like Reba that stood tall, 7 feet, 10 feet tall, to say, this is something special to us. This is something that makes us a part of the Caribbean experience. People like Donna that has championed the cause for decades. The bands that have sacrificed their time, their money, and it ain't no big money thing. But to be able to... Donna Mary, who has been a huge influence over the last many decades in the development of the carnival product and so many others. So again, my hat goes off to Miss Reba for her contribution. My heart goes out to her family, her carnival family, her extended family, all of her friends, and she definitely will be missed because we all know that was quite a character. Especially with them hats at Heroes Day or
hats,
Queensborough,
changing color hair.
Exactly.
I mean, you just never knew what was
exactly
going to happen.
So it was an absolute privilege to be a part of that journey she was on, and continue to be on that journey myself. And it is something I will never ever be ashamed of being a part of.
Outstanding.
I got a question,
Yes.
just following up on that. I mean, hearing you talk about KMAS, you talked about cruise tourism, you talked about a myriad of different things, but I'm wondering, looking at government, you didn't make it across the river this time, but you will one day. But what was there any one, two, or three particular passions that you had in terms of what you would like to do if and when you're elected?
Let me take that letter or those two little letters out. When I do eventually get elected,
okay, there you go.
The path that I see myself on, or the passions and experience that I have to be able to take on those responsibilities. I eventually, one day, hope to be minister responsible for culture, for possibly tourism, for sports, and stuff like heritage. So, and let me not go there. But but that's where I see myself, and those are where I feel that I give the most of myself to be able to handle, to be able to take forward.
Well, definitely, as I heard you speak, and culture definitely came to my mind. And the thing of it is that I think Cayman's tourism right now is, as I've said before, is a bit too 7 Mile Beach centric, right? Too beach centric. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but I think that our culture needs to take a bit more of the fore in tourism. So I think
100%.
Anyone that really comes and can really push the culture, that will be very complimentary.
And it's not even just the culture, because cultural tourism is huge opportunity for Cayman, because the tourism market has shifted quite a bit from people that are just looking to go sit on the beach and what have you. Everyone wants to know, is there anything going on? What's good to come and experience in your country or vacation? Sports tourism is another thing. There's so many things that we could be branching out more when it comes to our tourism product. But I guess the comfortability that we're in, that the need, if I can say, the need doesn't feel that it's there. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I definitely do look forward to that opportunity where I can be in a position to tie in and expand our tourism product to not just those that are staying at the Kimpton or sitting at the beach of Ritz-Carlton, but those that really want to come and experience what the Cayman culture has to offer, how awesome our culture is, and how unique we are as a country, where it's not just about...
And as a people.
Yeah, 100%. And I also want to make a plea. And, it's something that has always been a part of me that I just... It just frustrates me to a certain point where we all hear it. Oh, we need more Caymanians in the industry. We do need more Caymanians in the tourism industry, But the only way we're going to get more Caymanians in the tourism industry is by convincing ourselves or understanding ourselves the financial opportunities there are in the tourism industry, and and the importance of being an ambassador, not just working there, but being an ambassador to give that visitor a Cayman experience. I hear too many times where everyone is saying, we're going to put more Caymanians. Where are you going to get them? If you don't convince them, you can build a stadium, but if you not got a product, the stadium going to be empty. And I'm just out there imploring to anyone. I don't care whether you're if you're still in school, you're retired, or anyone in between. If you feel the urge that you want to be an ambassador, a voice of Cayman, there's no better place, no more rewarding place than being in the tourism industry, in my opinion.
Now, taking us is 20 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock, giving us about 10 minutes. Call it 8 minutes because we want to give you some closing comment time. But taking us back to politics,
yes,
even if it is just for a moment, bringing us full circle, if you will. The PPM, or the Progressives, as they prefer to be called now.
No, PPM.
The PPM still?
No, we're going back to the PPM.
Going back to the PPM. Trying to keep up. So the PPM have stated publicly, and I think this is a step in the right direction, that they're going to use, obviously, the next 4 years to rebuild the party, to, again, seek out not just political potential candidates, but persons that make up the wider working body of a party, get people interested and involved again. And I think that's a step in the right direction. And certainly, what would you say to the next young person who, might be considering a role in politics, might be considering the monumental but patriotic leap towards putting themselves forward for elections, or for persons who would like to get involved in the PPM, in particular to answer, and let's call it what it is, the naysayers on the sidelines that say, well, PPM is parties, and the parties are a thing of the past. What we have now, the groupings, that's, more in line for what the future will look like. But what would you say to the young persons wanting to get involved either at the political level or as part of a party?
Sure. Well, first of all, there is one person I really want to send a shout out to that we talked about earlier. I was so impressed with him. I saw him on social media and everything, but have a conversation with him. I was so impressed with Hunter Walton. I think he has so much potential within becoming a leader of Cayman. Not necessarily a politician, but a leader of Cayman. And what I would say to anyone out there that is considering this, it is a very honorable thing to put yourself forward, to put your family in the limelight for the betterment of your country. I would never, ever try to discourage anyone from stepping up to the plate, because truly that's what it is. I mean, you're stepping up to the plate to be a impactful leader for the future of our little 3 islands. And, so if this one's going out to the employers. If there is someone out there that has that potential, fear of unemployment should not be a factor in someone stepping up to the plate to become could be the greatest leader we've ever had. I'm sure we've lost candidates that could have been absolutely amazing politicians because of the fear of not being able or losing their job or not being able to get back employment. And it's a very honorable thing. And anyone out there that, has any questions about the experience, please, hit me up. All my information is still out there. You can catch me up on IG at Festa Culture on Instagram and Craig Frederick on Facebook. And I'm an open book. I love to talk to people, love to listen to people. And, I want to see quality within my party and also within the government to continue to take him on forward. So, and that is whether you're wanting to be a candidate or you want to be a part of the experience. The PPM experience has been an amazing experience. So please, we're looking to start our youth branch sometime over the next 3 to 6 months. We've been working on the logistics of that. I know I've heard talks of being able to create the women's branch as well too. So we are organized. We are still together, and we still support each other. And it's being a part of collective is so much better than being out there by yourself, in my personal opinion.
Indeed. Well, again, Craig, I thank you very much for that remark and those remarks. And I want to hand over to my colleague.
Yes.
Because I believe my voice has either left or is leaving the building. But I want to ask my colleague, Ellio Solomon, to extend the usual vote of thanks to you for being our guest in his very own unique and eloquent way.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for that, Austin. Of course, Craig, I want to thank you so much for coming in the studio. Again, during you mentioned earlier about our ACT campaign on the cruise, and I do remember seeing you attend a couple of meetings, particular one we had, I think, when we had Sejora, I think it was, that was here.
Yeah.
And I admired that. And let me again stress for the public why I admired that. I understand that these retirees who have come here to call this country their own and want to have it revert back to the way it was that they found it, have been able to convince a lot of people, and we saw how that referendum has turned out. And I'm just saying that because it was very courageous of you or anyone to allow themselves to be in any way at all, if you like, aligned during the campaign with Cruz. It was almost like a guaranteed nail in the coffin. But I think at the end of the day, people will come around. If you can't see the light, you'll feel the heat eventually. So I want to thank you for all those things, and I want to thank you for coming in the studio. And I mean this with the greatest of compliments. There's nothing polished about you. You're a very genuine person, and you come across that way, and I really respect that, and I'm pretty sure other persons as well. My colleague and I understand and feel the pain of so many persons out there who have ran for office. We know the challenges, and especially we abhor the fact that you have good persons who have made a very genuine and noble sacrifice to run and try to serve this country, and to see them being victimized. And again, nothing much we can do about it, but this is just one small step in the right direction to be able to allow you an opportunity and others to share their story, to share their trials, and to thank you for what you attempted to do and what you did for the country. So thank you again for all that you've done, and thank you for coming here in the studio with us. We greatly appreciate it.
Appreciate it completely. And also just want to say thank you all for not just inviting me, but giving all of us that wasn't successful, because this is our first time thing where those that weren't successful to be able to voice their make their voices being heard.
Right.
Where they aren't just like April 30th, who that was? So I'm so happy for you guys to do what you do. Again, I have to express my deepest appreciation to Nadia and Nala for being there by my side through this whole dilemma. Every time Nala drives by the political office close to Foster's, I don't like them. So raising a future little PPM person, but yeah, it also the party. Thank you so much for the belief in me, from leader Joe Hugh to the chairman, Sir Alden, and everyone involved. And I just want to say thank you to my Georgetown South people, for giving me that opportunity to put myself out there to share with you how I feel that we could take this country forward. And, and I have faith that come 2029, you will have a team that will be undoubtedly the team that you can't say no to. And I just want people to, last thing I'll say, just remember, it's about the collective. It's not about the individual. You have to think about the collective. Whereas it's now about friend, it's about what collective will be the best to take this country forward. So I thank you all so much. Thank you, Bobo, and thank Stingray for everything. Have a wonderful one, babe. I love you.
And good night, K-Man.
The home of the BBC World Service, the most trusted news source in the world. This is Bobo 103.1.